Hi everyone, welcome back to your class. Today we'll be speaking about the same topic as our first session, but this is part 2. Last time we had discussed present tense, this is going to be about past tense only, alright? So let's begin. The simple past tense is used in 5 different sections. The first one being to indicate past actions, alright? And this tense denotes events, actions, and situations which occurred in the past and are now completed. This is also used in 3 different categories. The first one being for a past action if the time of the action is given. Alright? That means if the time of that past action is specified, then we use it as to indicate past actions. Let's see 2 examples about it. Like it rained yesterday. We see here that the time is given. That was yesterday. Alright? So reigned becomes the past tense, simple past tense. Alright, she left our house an hour ago. So time is given an hour ago. So left becomes the simple past tense. Alright, the second category is when a person speaking wants to find out the time of the action. The first one was that the time is given. The second category being that the person wants to find out the time. So let's see 2 examples of this also. When did you come? So she's trying to ask the time. That is why did and come becomes the simple past tense. When did you see her? So did and see becomes the simple past tense because this person is trying to inquire the time. Right? And the third, that is the last category of this one, is when the action took place at a definite time, but this time is not mentioned explicitly. Alright, so when an action has taken place in a definite time, but this time has not been mentioned explicitly. Let's see 2 examples of it. The train arrived 4 hours late. So an exact time is not given, but as its regular time, it was 4 hours late. That is why arrived becomes simple past tense. I bought this pen in Chennai. That means that person was in Chennai at some time, which is not given. But we know that this pen was bought when that person was in Chennai. So bought becomes the simple past tense. Alright, time is given, but it is not explicitly shown. Understood? Let's look at the second category, that is to denote past situations. This tense is used to denote a situation which existed over a period of time in the past. Alright, now let's look at some examples. He lived in Kollam during his childhood. So this was a past situation that existed over a period of time but is not valid currently. So obviously he lived in Kollam during his childhood. He is not living there now. So lived becomes the simple past tense. Throughout 1997, he studied French at a school. That was a period of time ago, so that time he used to study French. He studied French, that is why studied becomes simple past tense. Alright? If you are talking about something that happened in the past and you mention a situation that existed at that time, you use the simple past tense. You can do this whether or not the situation still exists, alright? So till now we saw examples of the situation that does not exist now. It existed a time ago but it does not exist now. But now let's look at some examples that still exist and had happened earlier also. In the center of the village there was a famous temple. There was a famous temple, but the temple has not been removed, so it exists now also. But this person is trying to speak in past tense. That is why was becomes the simple past. Alright. All buildings in this part of Lucknow looked alike. That means buildings are there. They might not be looking alike now, but they used to look alike. So that is why looked becomes simple past tense. Alright. Now let's look at the third category, that is to indicate past habitual or regular actions. If we want to talk about an activity that took place regularly or repeatedly in the past but which no longer occurs, we use simple past tense. Alright? That means if we want to talk about an activity that took place regularly or repeatedly in the past, but which no longer occurs. It had happened regularly in the past, but it is not happening now anymore. In simple and short terms. Alright, so let's look at two examples about this. We played a great deal in my school days, and that doesn't happen because the school days might have got over. Alright, so played becomes the simple past. On Sundays, we trekked to the holiday home. It used to happen, but nowadays might be on Sundays they don't trek. That is why trekked becomes simple past tense. Alright, now let's look at the fourth category, that is insubordinate clauses. This tense is used in subordinate clauses to refer to something desirable or to refer to an unreal state of things. That means imaginary things. They are trying to indicate or describe something that is desirable. You might want it, but it does not exist because you don't have it. It's something like that. Let's see some examples and then you'll get a more clear idea, alright? So, I wish I knew her name. This person wished that that person knew her name. Because that person doesn't know that name, that is why it becomes a subordinate clause. Wish, it is desirable. Okay? So, knew becomes the simple past tense. If I were you, I would buy that property. That means were becomes the simple past tense because that property has not been bought by this person. So, I were you. It becomes an imaginary thing. It becomes a desirable thing. It's not happening. That is why it's the past tense. Alright? So, the last but not the least topic, in polite inquiries. The simple past can be used with a polite inquiry, often with verbs like hope, think, or wonder. Alright? That means when you are inquiring politely, then we can use simple past tense with verbs like hope, think, or wonder. Alright, let's look at two examples. I wonder if you would lend me that book. So this person is asking politely, I wonder if you would lend me that book. So would becomes the simple past tense. I hope he would excuse me. So would becomes the simple past tense because in both the sentences there is an inquiry, but a polite inquiry. That is why there is no question mark out here, alright? So moving forward, let's look at past continuous tense, alright? The past continuous tense is used in 6 different categories. The first one being to suggest a gradual development of the action in the past. Alright, let's look at the examples. It was getting dark. Was getting becomes the past continuous. And I was becoming more and more nervous. Was becoming becomes the past continuous. I hope these examples make you understand what to suggest a gradual development of the action in the past means that it was gradually increasing. With time it was increasing. That becomes gradual development of the action, alright? Like in this, it was getting dark. With time, darkness was increasing. I was becoming more and more nervous. With time, this person was getting more and more nervous. Alright, now let's look at the next point. That is actions in progress in the past. That means the actions that were in progress, that was increasing, incremental or decremental, like depends upon the type of progress, alright, in the past. So we were singing last night, so we could not come. So you see, it is a progress in singing that was happening continuously. That is why they could not come. It was raining all night, so this is also a progress as it was a continuous activity. That is why was raining becomes the past continuous. Alright. So the next one becomes to indicate repeated actions. So the past continuous with always expresses a frequently repeated action causing annoyance to the speaker. To indicate repeated action that causes annoyance, irritation to the speaker, then we use past continuous as well. Let's look at two examples. She was always writing rude letters to me. Was and writing becomes past continuous. This is a repeated thing that annoyed the person, alright? She was always talking to her friend. Was talking becomes past continuous. This also annoyed the person, that is why it becomes past continuous by using was and talking, alright? Let's look at the next point. With a time adverbial. Now what is this? With this, when this tense is used with a time adverbial, it suggests that the action probably began before the time and continued after the time. Understood? When this tense is used with a time adverbial, it is suggested that the action probably began before the time and continued after the time. Meaning that the action had begun before the time specified and it also continued after the time that has been specified. Now let's look at two examples so that you understand more properly. At 9 o'clock, he was preparing the breakfast. Alright? So might be he began before 9 o'clock, but this person noticed at 9 o'clock, and obviously at sharp 9 o'clock no one can start and stop cooking, right? So this person might have started and continued even after 9 o'clock, so was preparing becomes past continuous, okay? At 11 o'clock, she was walking on the road. So obviously she had began walking earlier and would have ended later. That is why was walking becomes past continuous, alright? So number 5 becomes to denote actions which began before something else happened. That is, the past continuous and the simple past are often used together in a sentence. The past continuous describes a situation or the action in progress in the past, and the simple past describes a shorter action or event. The action or situation in the progress is often introduced by conjunctions like when, as, just as, and while. That means to denote actions which began before something else happened, and thus we use past continuous and simple past together. Alright? So let's see some examples. Just as I was leaving the school, I saw my mother. Was leaving becomes past continuous and saw becomes simple past. Alright? So I recognized my friend when she was rushing to catch the train. Recognized becomes simple past and was rushing is past continuous. Alright? So you see, to denote actions which began before something else happened, in this we use both simple past and past continuous together. Okay? So the last topic is to indicate a more casual or less deliberate action. The simple past indicates a deliberate and planned action, whereas the past continuous indicates the casual and less deliberate action. So here's a task for you. I talked to the headmaster yesterday. And the next one is I was talking to the headmaster yesterday. This is to indicate a more casual or less deliberate action, alright? This is a casual speaking with less deliberation. So tell me which one is simple past and which one is past continuous. I give you 5 seconds to think, so I guess you must have thought by now. So let me reveal it. The top one is the simple past and the bottom one is the past continuous, as talked is a simple past tense and was talking is a past continuous tense, alright? So with this we end the class here, but still let me explain it to you further about the last two sentences. The first sentence suggests that the speaker had planned to talk to the head of the department on some matter, alright? And the second sentence suggests that the speaker had not planned to talk to him but happened to talk to him in a casual manner. So this is the difference between the two sentences. I hope you keep these in your mind and use it in your daily life. And so with this I end the subject here. Currently, like past tense is over by now. So we'll meet in the next class with a next new topic. I hope you all stay tuned for the next topic that will come just day after tomorrow. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining in.